Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to give you a full update on Tropical Storm Debby, which is expected to impact many areas of land. Look at the Eastern Pacific and the forecast for the national US. So let's get right into it. So right now we got the Eastern Pacific pulled up, and I just wanted to go over that the Eastern Pacific is very active, more than the Atlantic. Almost four systems, or really four systems to watch over here. We got Tropical Storm Carlotta, which peaked as a 90 mile per hour, I think, hurricane yesterday, or around a category 2, and then has weakened in tropical storm, and then eventually to a tropical depression, not really affecting any land. So that's something to keep an eye on. So mainly just almost for entertainment, almost. But I mean, it's really not going to be affecting any land, so that's the good thing. Looking at Daniel, which has formed yesterday, gonna go up to a tropical storm, could strengthen a little more, but overall, again, not really affecting any land. Gonna continue heading around north-northeast, and then eventually curling out west into the sea. Now I'm gonna talk about Tropical Depression 5E, which formed this morning, for me at least. And I mean, it's not really gonna move. I mean, right now it's actually stationary, gonna kind of curl as it's gonna go southeast and kind of curl north-northeast. Just staying as a tropical storm, not really affecting any land. So there's a quick run through of the Eastern Pacific. Now, what we're really focusing on is Tropical Storm Debby. Tropical Storm Debby right here. And I mean, the low is kind of right in here, but we've recently seen by recon a recenter of the low. So I mean, I can refresh this photo as well. So that's something to keep an eye on, and that's what's gonna impact future forecasts. So right now our low is kind of right in here. Expected right now to track north-northeast, make landfall on the Big Bend, come off this coast of Georgia, and then retrograde back into South Carolina, and then head out along the Atlantic coast. Taking a look at it on IR, I mean, you have very healthy outflow all the way up into Georgia, south outflow all the way into Cuba, an intense convection right around the center, making a shrimp-like shape, which represents strengthening overall. And I mean, it is strengthening per recon data. Now, one thing I will note, if Debby can develop a big, much more convective western side, then Debby can actually become much more stronger, and that's something we're going to continue watching over the next several hours. Now, I do want to show overall what impacts we can expect from Debby, and I mean, here I'm actually going to show the cone. Here's the latest cone issued literally 26 minutes ago. And right now, it's a 65 mile per hour tropical storm, 60 mile per hour at 8 a.m., now 65. So it is strengthening. Expected to become a hurricane possibly by next advisory and making landfall as a 90 mile per hour hurricane. Maybe even like around a Cat 2 in the Big Bend areas. Now, this could change, but for now, in the Big Bend, then weakening into a storm, and then kind of going into the Charleston area before heading northeast. Several instances and indices, tropical storm warnings and watches, hurricane watches and warnings up for almost the entire Gulf Coast of Florida, as well as even the little areas of the Keys, and tropical storm watches for the whole coast of Georgia and most of the coast of South Carolina. So something we're going to have to watch as this continues to trek around north-northwest, eventually north-northeast. Impacts. I mean, we're definitely going to look at the impacts in my future videos. I'll take an even bigger dive into impacts, such as tomorrow. I'm going to try to get a video out earlier, right before landfall. I might even live stream. I don't know. I think I do need a little more people for that, but I will have an updated video on impacts for tomorrow. Now, tropical storm force probability is very high as this continues strengthening. As you can see, many of the probabilities are on the eastern side of the low, which tells you how much more active the eastern side is than the western side. One of the main impacts, and I stress this a ton, the main impacts are it's gonna be rainfall, okay? No doubt about it, it's gonna be the biggest impact, okay? And storm surge along with it. 12 to 16 inches of rain for the Big Bend areas. That is insane. And then if that's not insane for you. I mean, as it stalls off the coast of South Carolina and even areas of Georgia, 20 to 30 inches of rain expected. 20 to 30 inches of rain expected for some areas of South Carolina coast and Georgia. Savannah, for example, I have family there. I mean, it's gonna get bad. Okay, we're gonna have lots of rain, flooding. It's gonna get dangerous. So please be safe. Please even evacuate if you need to, because there's gonna be lots of rain, and with that, lots of flooding. Okay, so please stay safe there. Along with that, again, peak surge up to 10 feet for the first initial landfall area, and then 2 to 4 feet for areas of South Carolina and Georgia. So even storm surge is going to pair along with that and cause even heightened impacts. Excessive rain outlook, okay, a high risk for Savannah, Charleston, almost the entire coast of South Carolina, and even almost up to even, I mean, Myrtle Beach. And those are some very populated areas. So high risk. This is a very rare day 3 high risk. So please be careful for areas over here. Not day 3, but overall it's gonna be very lots of heavy rain. I don't know actually if this is a day 3, but greatest flash flood risk over the next 5 days. So yeah, high risk. That's something you really need to take into consideration for anyone over there. Um, Let's see. We also do have arrival time of winds, just so you know when this is all gonna happen. Um, Even though landfall for the Big Bend isn't until Monday, winds could start arriving as soon as Sunday at 8 p.m. and then Monday at 8 a.m. for areas of South Carolina, etc. So, I mean, because this is a relatively big storm, I'm not gonna lie. Now, surface wind, I mean, this is the wind field right now, and it's probably just going to continue expanding, especially if we can get a western expansion. I mean, the center is over 125, 150 miles off the coast, kind of the Tampa coast, but there's winds extending at Tampa and even inland. So, again, a pretty big system. Now, I do want to take a look at this SPC tornado potential, and I mean, we do have a slight risk. Tornado 5%, that's obviously the main threat, and wind, and then a couple marginal risk up in the north. Just wanted to highlight that. And even day 2, we have another slight risk with Debby 5% tornado, and no real wind hail threat, but wind hail threat up in the north, which is something we're gonna have to watch out for. And then another marginal risk over here, and the marginal risk lining the lining areas of the South Carolina and Georgia coast, again in coalition with Debby. Now, again, looking at the National Weather Service alerts, you have red flag warnings and advisories and heat indices in the west. But the main reason I came is definitely for Debby related issuances. And I mean, you have a ton. I mean, just taking a look at some areas, you can see flood watches, special weather statements, tropical storm or tornado watches already issued and posted up. And I mean, we can take a better look at radar. And I mean, here you have it. Debby Center right here as it continues trekking. And you have the outer bands and outer bands just lashing the coast. I mean, you already have tropical storm warnings coming up. One near Naples, and you really see this big thunderstorm complex about to enter in. So straight line damaging winds and tropical storm force winds and tornado warnings are all likely. So please stay safe. Now there's your impacts. Now taking a look at strengthening. Now something that I like a lot and is really interesting for me is the tropical storm for this ship's forecast for rapid intensification. I feel like that's really possible. 27% for 25 knots in the next 24 hours. That's about almost 1 in 3% chance of rapid intensification. So that's something we have to watch out for. 65 knots in 72 hours, another 21% chance, something we have to consider. So, especially with these 32 Celsius, almost 90-degree warm temperatures with low shear, like not shear being as much of a problem. There's a little bit, but it's not as much of a problem. And dry air not being too much of a problem because you do have a moist bubble associated with Debby. So there's prime conditions, I mean, for strengthening and even rapid strengthening, rapid intensification, very possible. And then here's some statistics on these little charts over here. Now, I do want to take a look at super ensemble plots. Like, what's going to happen after this? Like, where's Debby going to go? So, I like to look at this because it takes all the opinions, takes an ensemble mean. But you see, there's relatively good agreement that we have, I mean, a landfall anywhere from kind of overall the Big Bend. I mean, areas from Apalachicola. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but Big Bend. I mean, you have many areas over here, Tallahassee, areas from Tallahassee, Big Bend, all those areas, right? And again, the Big Bend area of Florida. Literally, there's lots of agreement that we're gonna have impacts in the Big Bend. Now, again, that could still change as we are still quite a bit away, not too far, but 36 hours away, 42 hours ish. So there could still be some minor uh, changes, but plan for a Big Bend landfall. Then you see it come off the coast of South Carolina, almost stall out, and then curve back into the coast, and then you just have a wide mess. Some do bring it back into kind of like Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia. You have that's the deterministic GFS being a very big highlight, but I mean you have UK Met, ECMWF, and the ensemble mean mainly taking it in and then kind of leading it up along the East Coast, which could cause impact for the Mid Atlantic and even up into New England. Okay, depending on how long it stays off the coast. I mean, most models actually have a kind of right off the coast, but since it's a big storm, it would still be causing direct impacts. Now, that's still a little far out, but something definitely we're going to keep an eye on as ensemble mean continues. And we'll continue this out. And I mean, taking a look at the overall ensemble mean, you see it kind of come off the coast and cause impacts for some highly populated areas such as the I-95 corridor. Again, that's just something we're taking a look at and something that could happen. Alright, sorry, that's a lot of stuff. The last thing is the forecast for the nationwide US. 6 to 10 day outlook, you see cooler temperatures for the north, warmer temperatures for the west and the south, and more precipitation for the east coast due to Debby, and more precipitation to the west coast. Could be because of monsoons and all those areas, and below average for the central U.S. 8 to 14, below average for the east coast, and above average for the east coast, as well as warmer and wetter conditions for the west. Lastly, 3 to 4, kind of northeastern U.S. Equal chances, southwestern above, and then eastern and south U.S. above average precipitation could be again because of tropics. Equal chances for the central and western U.S. So those are your probabilistic things. Your hazards are out here too. You got your heavy precipitation, excessive heat, so wet conditions, again mainly because of Debby, and heat is one of the big forecasts. So please be safe. Hope you enjoyed the video. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.